Majapahit and Sriwijaya, two of the biggest Indonesian kingdoms in history, both being rivals at the time. Today, we'll be exploring their technology and weapons, which they used to support their coastal development. How advanced were they compared to us right now? What we found is shocking. Hello everyone, we're Sophophobia, and this is our video regarding the tech of Sriwijaya and Majapahit.
Hey, I'm Darren, and this is a jom, a sailing ship used by Japanese sailors and fishermen, and is usually used to transport passengers and cargo. These things were able to travel as far as Atlantic Ocean back during the medieval era, which is quite far from Indonesia. Talk about dedication.
These ships had four masts. The wood that was used to construct the jom was teak or jati wood. This ensured that the jom had a very strong and sturdy construction, as jati wood is known for being a very strong hardened. As the joms aged, the sailors would repair the jom with new planks of jati wood. The ropes and sails of the jom were made out of woven rota, or rata, and the ship's hull is formed by joining planks of jati wood and keel with wooden dowels and nails, not iron ones. The jom's hull was pointed at both ends and carried two rudders, which was different from Chinese ships at the time, which only had one rudder. For defense and fighting, the jom had chatbang cannons. Jom could carry up to 100 of these breech-loaded artillery. These cannons were mainly mounted and loaded at the bow or front of the jom, and often had a gun shield called the apel. Others were mounted at the quarterdeck.
The Majapahit Empire, which came after the Sriwijaya Empire, used a wide variety of gunpowder-based weapons, which included cannons and firearms. This one, the chatbang, was mounted on the jom ships, which we mentioned before. The chatbang was produced and used in Majapahit, and there was two styles of the chatbang. One is the Chinese one, and the Chinese style cannon, which is loaded from the front, and the Western style cannon, which was loaded from the back.
These chatbangs were mounted on a fixed mount, as hand cannons mounted on the end of the pole. These cannons were useful in naval combat, especially because of their incendiary abilities. And also they were useful in sieges because of those abilities. Now let's talk about the Eastern style chatbang. The predecessors of the Eastern style chatbang were brought over by Kublai Khan's troops. These troops were led by a man named Ike Mese, and they were tasked with conquering the Nusantara Islands. Ike Mese would actually work together with Raden Wijaya, and they would try to defeat Raden Wijaya's rival. Raden Wijaya would then be the founder of the Majapahit kingdom, and he would turn on Ike Mese and expel the Mongol invasion from the Javanese islands. Now, the Eastern style chatbang was loaded from the breech, or the rear, and it was made out of bronze primarily. It fired arrow-shaped projectiles. These could either be solid-tipped or have incendiary and explosive weapons mounted on the front. Pellets and round projectiles could also be shot out of the Eastern style chatbang. And at the end of the Eastern style chatbang, near the rear, is where the gunpowder would be placed. This is called the combustion chamber. These Eastern style chatbangs were useful in many situations, mostly in sieges and in naval warfare, because of their ability to be fitted with explosives and incendiary weapons.
The Western style of chatbang was derived from the Turkish cannons. It was a revolving cannon and made out of bronze or iron. Now, when fired, this style of cannon fired scatter shots or single shots. Scatter shots, you can imagine like bird shot from a shotgun. Now, these smaller versions of this cannon can be found on gun carts, and the larger ones can be found mounted on fortified walls or ships. Now, funny enough, these cannons were not made to destroy ships, but made to be anti-personnel, killing infantry instead of large objects like ships or disabling horses or so on.
Now, these technologies were crucial in ensuring that the Majapahit and Sriwijaya empires had a strong navy. A strong navy meant a well-defended port, and that meant that the ports could be developed. A developed port also meant that there were, of course, functional structures. These included seawalls, breakwaters, and jetties to facilitate maritime travel. Other structures were also, of course, built, especially ones that were used to produce their famed war and trade vessels. On the other hand, the Sriwijaya Empire did not have access to these gunpowder weapons, so they relied more on traditional combat, large armadas, and just power in numbers.
Of course, there are many other technologies that aided in coastal defense and development, but explaining about all of them in depth would be simply too long. So, here's a quick rundown. This is the Java arquebus. The Majapahit Empire also used firearms that could be carried by infantry in limited numbers. The Java arquebus was one of these firearms. It was a long-barreled musket. And fun fact, there is a dance called the gun dance or baris badil, which is performed in Bali, Indonesia. Next are the spears. Both Majapahit and Sriwijaya used spears as a standard weapon for infantry. The long reach of the spear meant that their soldiers could attack from a greater range. And the third one is the swords and daggers. Both powers also used iron weapons to arm infantry. Sriwijaya relied more heavily on these as they did not yet have access to gunpowder weapons.
Next are the kotamara and apilan, which were shields used on ships to protect artillerymen and their cannons. They also, of course, made use of port infrastructure. Port cities such as Tuban, Gresik, and Hujungalo, now known as Surabaya, were developed into significant maritime hubs with advanced harbor facilities and management structures, known as Mandala Sarjwala, to facilitate trade. They also made advances in building materials and used vine sap and palm sugar as mortar for bricks and construction. This allowed for the development of more durable, managed permanent port warehouses and residential facilities.
So as we can see, these two powers used many different technologies to support coastal development during their time. While Majapahit was more technologically advanced and had a greater capability of producing and using firearms, Sriwijaya is just as important to Indonesian history, as these two powers controlled much of the Indonesian archipelago during their time and united many of the islands.
Thanks for watching the video.
This was Sophophobia.